Welcome to the Supply Space. I'm your host, David Beck, the Director for Center for Industrial Innovation Systems at the Institute for Digital Assets and Innovation. Today, I'm very proud to have Ms. Taryn Strzok with me today. Please introduce yourself and let's get down to business.
Right. Well, nice to be here. Thank you, Mr. Beck, for inviting me. Yeah, Taryn Strzok, co-founder of Space Rising, and also now just officially COO. We are just now structuring our team and getting everything off the ground. So we're excited.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell us more about, the amazing conference I attended last week and about what your organization is doing for the great state of Arizona.
Yeah, happy to tell you all the things. And I think it's always nice to start with some context and our why, like why are we doing this work? So I'll give a little context to my background and where this all started. I worked for 7 years at the Interplanetary Initiative at ASU. We really worked at the nexus of R&D, workforce development, the convening of global thought leaders. And what I realized during my time at ASU was that there was such a need in the space industry for the connective tissue. Since ASU, I was like, well, let's continue this work, but let's do it at more of a statewide level and continue that effort of connecting and mobilizing our people across all sectors to accelerate the space industry. And so that's the work that Space Rising does. We are a connective layer for the space economy at all levels, all sectors, bringing people together and moving people through a methodology to get to strategies quicker for their states and regional areas. So that is what we are doing. And it's important because coordination is the most challenging part in this industry because it's emerging, it's new, and we don't have an innovation problem, right? We have a coordination problem. That's the challenge. And so we're kind of this like invisible layer. We want to work with everybody across the line and support and accelerate. So
from your perspective and the great things you guys are doing over in Arizona that we saw last week, describe the orbital economy in terms of how that global economy sits itself in Arizona, and what can people who are watching today who want to invest in Arizona see or want to obtain if they come to Arizona and talk to you and your team and others in Arizona about infrastructure, logistics, and the talent and function of those areas to benefit them in the state of Arizona?
Yeah, we have so many assets in Arizona. We are a stacked state across the board. You know, here we're building the semiconductors right here in Arizona. We have the chips. We have a really large aerospace and defense infrastructure already in place. And then we have some of the largest universities, rolling out our engineers. So our workforce pipelines are incredible. We have year-round weather and testing abilities. So Arizona is such a compelling place for a commercial business or any business to come into if they want to set up space. Now, what happened was there was no coordination. Once again, that coordination word and alignment happening across the state to connect and build this full alignment. And so once again, that's why we were stepping in to help with that endeavor. But yes, we want to attract people here. We have the big primes. We have Northrop Grumman. We have Honeywell. So we have all of these amazing assets. But yeah, it's just coordination and building strategy and also working closely with the state and also the new Arizona Space Commission as well.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. For those out there who are watching this podcast for the first time, have been tuned in every week or bi-weekly on what we're doing, Arizona is very unique in the space ecosystem because you can trace the space industry back to Gemini. There's actually a facility in Arizona, in Phoenix area, where they have not touched the whole assembly area for the Gemini capsule. I had the opportunity to see that a couple of years ago when I was at DoD. And it just amazed me the history of what Arizona plays in the space community. So glad to have you today. I want to get more. Let's get down to it. More questions. So what led you to this 2026 Arizona Space Congress and the driving force behind Arizona Space 2030?
Yeah, what led me to it was the need. I saw a problem and a challenge in the marketplace for new emerging markets. There was such a need. And I had so many lovely connections across the space industry already to support in this whole endeavor of lifting and aligning folks across the board. So that's really why we're doing it. We want to help solutioneer for the state, not just our state, but multiple states, and bring our talents to the table to help align. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very important because if you look at a spaceport in Yuma, you look at a new company to support TMC or Intel and Flagstaff or Phoenix, there's intricacies between the state of Arizona that really play into the national exposure for defense, and especially for ways the state of Arizona can really play a long ball game in the space community. So from that perspective, could you tell me more about the Yuma and Sierra spaceport licenses and things like that?
Yeah, so brand new infrastructure that's being worked on and developed right now in southern Arizona. So Yuma will be a departure, right? And Sierra Vista will be reentry. This is all new infrastructure that's being developed in real time, working on the FAA license right now, which is very ambitious, very challenging, and in the works. And we are also closely tied in with our economic development folks who are working on that so that we can be also a source and a hub for communications, because that's the other piece that was missing, right? There's a lot of narrative happening, a lot of things happening, but there wasn't a centralized comms hub to get the information out and let the world know what is Arizona's building, and then also attract people back into the state. So yeah, lots of really exciting infrastructure though. We're excited because then Arizona's truly end to end, right? We're building chips on the front end, and now we're launching on the back end. And so we can be full circle. It's really incredible. And also the way we're positioned in between California and New Mexico and crossing supply chains that way as well. Super important.
You build a unique space highway for Arizona and California to work together closely, which I think is very much needed. I spoke about that yesterday in a conference, so that we need to work closely with Arizona. So to that point, from a collaboration standpoint, what do you see are the factors of Space Rising plan in defining LEO economy in the state of Arizona?
So say the question again. How do we define it? Or
how Space Rising helped define the coalition of working in the LEO economy in Arizona?
Yeah, so how we would like to support and define is being more or less a resource hub for this. So think of it as intelligence connection for the entire space economy. One thing that we found that we could provide and support in that is needed for LEO and this orbital economy. So we're in the industrial revolution. We're building infrastructure right now. We're immature right now, but everyone's needing the same resource and a source of truth. So we're like, we need to develop some sort of platform that can help all players who want to be in the orbital economy, down to, I need visibility, I need tools, I need the latest and greatest reports, what's happening in policy. I want to hire somebody. I want to go to a space congress and be part of statewide strategy. So there's like 6 different layers that can be applicable to any player, whether I'm a startup, I'm a student, maybe I'm an investor, maybe I'm a commercial space company. There's so many different players in this industry, and they all need resources, and we need to connect to each other. So that's what we're building on our second pillar after Space Congress to go and dovetail with it, is like this intelligence layer for the entire space economy. And we have a lot of people stepping in to help with it right now. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited about what you guys are doing and other organizations working together with you as we go along this pathway of progression. Earlier this month, Artemis 2 completed its lunar flyby, and it landed in San Diego. I was one of the few people to visually see that. It was the first crewed mission in 50 years, as you know. We're still excited about it. In the milestone and the freshness of this space exploration, what do you see that supply chain investment means to the state of Arizona as we position to capture that market from a state level?
Yeah, so as far as the supply chain goes with Arizona, we will be a major hub for that. Like you said, we are going to be basically a highway between California and New Mexico. Like I said, we are we have all the assets and align. We just need the alignment right to do those pieces, but we'll be a major support mechanism for all of that. And by the way, Artemis was amazing. And I think that's exactly the kind of missions we need to inspire the world, and especially our next generation, to also attract more and more of that generation into space as well. I think that's so important.
Yeah, I'd love to see ways we can work together and figure out a policy working group to increase not the red tape of policy for space, but also the thinning the red tape and working internationally to bring those international companies to the Western region of the United States, California, and nobly Arizona. and build up an ecosystem that way. So we can do, international launches down in Sierra Vista and Yuma, as well as Vandenberg and other places within our regions. That'd be great for us as well. That's one of my dreams, and I hope we can really build that with our relationships and collaborations in this space.
We want to build that with you. And whatever we can do to help with the communications and the connecting of people and moving through methods, that's where our sweet spot will be to help and support in any way.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that too. So we're looking at future outlook 10 years. I know a lot of us don't look at 5 to 10 years, and we're trying to figure out what's going on next week. But looking at 5 to 10 years, what does a mature Arizona space system look like to you? And what would you have it truly encompass in terms of a genuine leadership across the board to make it successful?
Yeah. So if I were to look out 5 to 10 years for Arizona, I would love to see Arizona recognized nationally as a coordinated space ecosystem. I think we have the opportunity to be almost like a poster child for how new ecosystems can coordinate and align across the state. Not where power is centralized in one area, but all the way across and looking at different zones of the state and the strengths of the state and how they play together. So measurable success for Arizona, I would say more jobs, right? A lot of the engineers that come out of our schools here leave Arizona because we don't have a lot of the commercial companies coming into Arizona. So we want more jobs here. We want more startups. We need, I would say more venture investments. That also was another comment that came out of Space Congress. That is one area that we need a lot of work in. More partnerships, more research commercialization, and then obviously our launch and re-entry infrastructure. I would love to see that up and running in the next 10 years. That would be a huge goal and a win for Arizona. I just think Arizona evolves from this. We're like a hidden contributor. So I would just love for Arizona to be this recognized national leader in the next decade.
Yeah, I was going to add to you. You said that, I got excited. And I mean to interrupt what you're saying, but having an Arizona Economic Forum could be something you can put together. I'd love to work with you on that. There was something similar here in Southern California yesterday that was greatly admired by a lot of investors. And I'm sure they'd be involved and very much mature to talk to some of the companies in your neighborhood that work with you in the Arizona Space Rising. And I'm very, very excited to do so with that as well. So I think it's very bright for 10 years. And I think what really inspires me is the excitement that you personally brought to this conference and brought to the inspiration of space, because, the light shineth in, shineth outward. And I think that really brought the case for this conference being so successful. So from that perspective, what is your inspiration for the next generation with what you're doing? To everyone, young and old, feeble and strong, those who are not understanding of Arizona and what it plays in space, and how can they get involved and what can it do for them as well?
Yeah, I'm very passionate about the next generation. Obviously, I worked in a university and I just love working with young minds. I think the number one thing I hope and wish for the next generation is that they have to believe that the future is bright. They have to believe that the future is full of opportunity and new ways of building and designing systems that are for all of humans, right? All humans, and then also leveraging space to benefit our own planet Earth. So I really see this coming out a lot in the next generation, but we have to really create meaning and a vision across our nation that they can all align with and see and be excited to be part of it. And so, yes, we need more entry points for the next generation. We need education to come in many, many different forms. And we need to lower any kind of barriers to entry in general. So that is one thing we're also working on, is like, what does new workforce curriculum look like? How do we make sure it's scalable? How do we make sure it's flexible and anti-fragile so anybody can be part of the space industry if they so choose to and have a Wi-Fi connection?
Yeah, I like that piece. I think that's, to me, I get asked several times a week, how do we have touch points with the younger students in schools, going to back to the elementary schools or to the kindergartens and talk to them about space, figuring out ways to give them like a Lego block about different types of things that are built in that particular region and let them really emphasize the imagination of how they would play in that ecosystem and contribute as they get older and learn more about the technology, learn more about space and habitization and the technology that goes around it. I think this would be a great opportunity as well to do so.
Yeah. And it's starting younger and younger too. I was just gonna say, it's not like you figure it out like when you're in high school or college. It's like second grade, third grade. How do we start planting these really amazing visions in front of them and narratives so that they can be excited?
And I want to emphasize to our audience out there, neither one of us was, space astronauts on a candidate list. We didn't see ourselves in these positions at this time. But I think because we love space so much, we're here to talk about what we love so much. And I think that's one thing you got to look at if you're looking at these podcasts and watching guests like Ms. Strzok talk about how this means so much to not just the ecosystem, but her family, just the growth of a state in which she lives, love, and work every day. That when you're in your neighborhoods, wherever you may be, that should be something you take to yourself as well. So I want to emphasize that. We're here to educate and elevate and innovate, but we also want to foster opportunities that one day someone watching this podcast could come to Arizona and say, Ms. Strzok, can we start a business in Arizona too? I'd love to see that. That would be a miraculous story. So from that standpoint, what is your plans after this Congress, since we did such a good job with this and got so much enthusiasm across, several people coming from different states and regions? What is the next steps on, next year's vision, and what do you guys want to do in terms of, throughout the year to get the enthusiasm rolling as well?
So Space Congress was designed to scale originally. We are actually regional agnostic. We happen to start in Arizona because we felt, obviously, we live here, but also Arizona was a really great case study. It was a perfect example of a state that had all the assets, but just needed the alignment. So next steps, we're going to New Mexico in fall.
Oh, nice.
And we are already working on that. So Arizona was like a pilot for us. Let's think of it that way. It was an experiment. It was a pilot. We're like, let's try a concept. Let's try this idea of a method to move people through to get to strategies quickly for the state. We learned a lot in this first one, and that we're already refining to the next thing. So this is like a little bit of an example of anytime we want to build new things in the world. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You build new, pilot it, experiment, and then learn from it, and then go to the next iteration.
Absolutely.
New Mexico will be our next iteration in the fall, and we are working closely with Space Valley Foundation and Q Station to get this method reiterated one more time, and to also support that state because they have the same challenges as Arizona. They also have so many assets, right? But same thing. How do we bring all the players, all the sectors together to build alignment and some strategies that they can work towards as the years go along? So we'll scale this fall.
Well,
we're excited.
We're excited to see that. Look forward to being a part of that ecosystem as well. And one of the things you touched on, I want to explain to everybody, space is for everyone. Our discussion here is about everyone being involved in space, and we need all hands on deck. Being a former military, and you've been around the military, you know how it is. They're all hands on deck. We cannot get a solution until we get the people to understand the problem and work together to fix it. And I think that's one of the things that space add to the mix of us being in a collaborative, environment, working together, building an ecosystem, and fostering their innovation as well. So from that perspective, we got some time left. If you want to elaborate some other things we want to talk about, but I just really want to say thank you for inviting me and IDIA to be a part of this, historical occasion in Arizona. And we look forward to building that. But also, the other perspective is the younger students that were there were so very much appreciative. And they added me on LinkedIn. They came across and said, Mr. Beck, can you mentor us and stuff like that? I thought that was just so cool. It took my heart away because that's what I always go after trying to do. And we got to do more of that together. We got to work this, and we got to get all these students. I want to see 1/3 of the students at Arizona State major in space, perspective, and build out huge companies that can take us to, Alpha Centauri one day. Even if it's not us, take our memories, right? Because our memories will live on. So from that standpoint, could you give, I guess, a good closing statement of what you feel that, in terms of contact information and closing, what you think that you want to aspire for organization to grow and how you feel about the ecosystem?
Yeah. I guess I'll close. Yeah. So I guess my closing statement is, like you said, space is for everyone. It's for every face, right? Everybody. It is a horizontal. It's horizontal, meaning it touches every industry. So even if you're working in fashion, hospitality, you're a designer, and you think you have no role in the space world, think again. We need everybody. We need all disciplines. We need all hands on deck to build this new future. We're literally world building together, and what an awesome responsibility.
Yes.
And it's also so exciting. And I think it's just, like I said, having that vision for a future that feels very bright for everybody. And I think that's the goal for our nation right now, is we just need to have this like North Star for all of us to work towards. And really, Space Rising is all about that. We are a cheerleader for every part of our nation and every part of our globe. We want to work together. And so closing information, I mean, you guys can check us out, spacerising.org. You can check out all the speakers. We have amazing galleries on there, and then we'll be updating it very soon with our next Space Congress. We're very excited.
Nice. Something you just said, it just resonated with me. I think we should get a T-shirt that says "Space Rising, the North Star for Space."
Yeah,
that is a nice
North Star for space, and it's a new way to space, right? Like we have to work together differently than we've ever worked together before. But like I said, what an awesome responsibility for all of us to take on.
Well, I'm taking it very personal and very thankful for you being here today, and humble as well in the intellectual conversation we had. And I want to thank you on behalf of Supply and Space Podcast, IDIA, for being here today, and look forward to more engagements with you as we go through this process. And thank you again, everybody out there. Please follow her on LinkedIn and engage with Space Rising. And we see you on the next Supply and Space podcast.